My name is Ryan Mandel, Director of Claims Performance for Mitchell International. So I really think that we have to start looking at electric vehicles as something that is wholly different from the internal combustion engines that we've all grown up with. There's a variety of levels of complexity to electric vehicles that are vastly different from an internal combustion engine vehicle. We see much more interconnectedness of the different systems. We see a greater frequency of lightweighting in terms of the vehicle construction. And so what that's really doing is driving the cost of repair higher for these vehicles and making it much more complex in terms of understanding what are the types of patterns of damage we need to look for, which systems are being impacted during the course of a collision. So it's really a very different process in terms of not only writing the estimate on an electric vehicle, but blueprinting that repair as well to make sure that you really are truly bringing that vehicle back to pre-loss condition. I think what these different stakeholders have to do is really start to look at, as we see greater EV adoption, what are the different changes they need to make inside of their businesses? That could be different for a collision repairer, that could be different tools and equipment, different processes that they have to put these vehicles through. Also setting different expectations for the consumer. On average, consumers are in a motor vehicle accident about once every 8 years. The odds are that this is their first accident in an EV that they've probably never owned before. So this is really going to be something that's a very new experience for them that they've never had anything like this before. So it's really the industry's job to be able to walk them through that, set the appropriate expectations, and make sure that they're confident in that repair. There's a lot of challenges around how businesses need to adapt to this. Insurance carriers need to understand what are the challenges in terms of repairing these vehicles? How do I underwrite these vehicles properly? How do I price a policy on an electric vehicle different from an internal combustion engine vehicle? Understanding the complexity of these systems, the cost of repair, and the different technologies on that vehicle. So I think there's a lot of preparation that these companies need to do in terms of ramping up their organizations to be ready when, and be proactive to be prepared for when these EVs are a more prevalent stance on the road. Yeah, so I think what you're seeing is a lot of investment, both public and private. Clearly, the government has mandated certain benchmarks for when EV adoption needs to take place as a function of new vehicle sales, at least. And so they're heavily vested in terms of making sure that the infrastructure can be there to meet that demand when it arrives. So I think we're seeing investment in these charging stations that are more so in the more rural parts of Canada, quite honestly. I think there's actually a pretty developed network inside of the major cities, but it's when you get outside of those cities that you start to see that there's gaps. And so I think that's where the investment is taking place, so that people have the ability to drive these vehicles for longer distances beyond just their range maximum. I think that's where there's the big opportunity. So getting those level 3 chargers, the fast chargers that charge 200 miles in roughly about half an hour, that's going to be critical to making sure that people have the ability to drive these vehicles across the country and not just isolate themselves to certain markets. Sure. That's going to be more of a commercial use. That's going to be something that is, again, more akin to filling up your vehicle at the gas station, sure. Right? These level 2 chargers that charge roughly about 25 miles of range per hour, those are going to be the ones that you're going to see in people's homes. In people's homes, at someone's workplace. That's going to be something where if that vehicle is parked for 6 to 8 hours, you could start charging that vehicle. The level 3 chargers requires much more advanced electronics and power grid requirements, and so that's not something that's really practical to go into someone's home per se. Oh, it's absolutely a partnership, I think, between the two organizations, and it's something that we continue to innovate and try to meet the needs of their company moving forward. And really, we work together with them on so many different initiatives, and it's exciting to see, their business growing so much and in conjunction with ours. And I really think that the team at Fix Auto is what sets it apart. And we have great relationships with the senior management. And really, again, I think it just goes back to a lot of collaboration that is in that relationship. And really, some of the things that we learn from that relationship help us innovate our products for the wider industry as well.